is 9:30, so officially we are beginning. Go ahead and sit in your Virasana. And again, the only reason I'm up on height is because of my recovering ankle. So if you can sit flat on the floor in Virasana, knees together, toes wide enough apart so that your sits bones and your hips can go between your feet. So take your hands and be sure that your hands can slide between your feet and your hips. Yeah, so even wider feet. I wish I had Anne's big screen.
And Chaya, it looks to me like you could use even slightly wider feet because it looks like part of your hips are sitting on your feet. And really the feet are so far out that eventually our buttocks come to the floor and we're not sitting on the feet at all. So in anticipation of that glorious day, keep your feet really wide so that eventually your hips come between them. So just be sure you have enough room. See how wide out my feet are? You can see this one. So that when I come to the floor, when my ankle is fine, then my feet will not be in the way. So knees together, feet way out away from the flesh. Good. Hello, Happy New Year to those of you just coming in. We are starting in Virasana. It's time for an invigorating New Year's practice. New year, new opportunities. I'm excited. Hello. All right, so knees together, toes wide enough apart so that when your hips can come to the floor, they can come all the way to the floor. So you're not sitting on your feet in any way. For those of you who are just joining us, so Virasana, knees together, toes wide apart. And if I can't see your legs, look down. Be sure that your feet are not under your thighs. Be sure that you can put your hands between your thighs and your heels, and you're not having to bend your hands in. It should come straight down. There should be that much room. And then check back and be sure that you can pull your toes away and that they're pointing straight back. Don't let the ankles sickle in or out. They should be coming straight back from the shins. Good. Then lift the front knee and elongate the shin bone on both sides. Because the shins, especially if you're not on blankets recovering from broken ankles, the shins are the base of the pose and they should be pressing flat into the floor along with the ankles. And then pressing down on the shins, find your two sits bones. Be sure they're pressing into something. If you're not on the floor, then have a blanket or a brick under your sits bones. I'm using a brick because I'm up so high with the blankets so that you can really press those two bones into something. And from those 2 points, lift. Be sure that you're not arching the back. Draw the abdomen slightly back so that the spine is straight. And from those 2 points, lift all the way up. All the way through the back of the cervical spine as if someone had a little line and was lifting from the crown of your head toward the back of your head and elongating your entire spine and neck. Good. And arms out, roll the shoulders back and trapezius muscles down and bring the palms together. Then you can use your thumbs to lift the sternum one more time, but be sure not to arch the back as that happens. If you wear glasses, remove them so your temples can be soft as we briefly close our eyes and draw our attention inward to our very own breath. So observe your breath to begin this practice. The observation of the breath draws your awareness inward toward the realm of yoga. I'll chant 3 ohms. You can join or listen. Complete exhalation. Full inhalation. Lift your sternum. Be sure the trapezius muscles at the back of the shoulder are moving downward. And you can take a moment to release your head to your heart and set an intention for your practice.
this fine 2nd of January, 2021. Then release your hands, raise your head, and softly open your eyes. We are heading toward Vashisthasana as our goal pose today. So let's do some shoulder openers. If that doesn't make a picture in your mind, do not worry, I will show. But first, let's do some shoulder openers. Arms out, interlock your thumbs. Draw the shoulders back into their sockets. And again, the trapezius muscles here on the back of the shoulder blade down. And from those two sits bones that you are pressing into, lift everything up. Reach up with your ring fingers, pull against your thumbs to straighten those elbows. Keep allowing the back trapezius muscles to move down, even as you open the armpits and reach the ring fingers and arms up. Get longer, see if you have any more length. I want to see every guess, nice. One more extension, I see a couple of elbows that are bent. Reach your ring fingers to straighten your elbows. And release, but look at which way the thumbs are crossed and cross the opposite way. Reground your sits bones. Draw the abdomen back in to keep the spine straight. Bring the trapezius muscles down now. And then from the two sits bones, reach the arms up. Keep pushing the sits bones down and gently drawing the abdomen back to keep the back from swaying. And from those points, extend up. Open the armpits to the front wall. Reach the ring fingers. Can you get any more extension? See if you can move the hands behind the ears any amount while still stretching up to keep the elbows perfectly straight. Good. And release. Grab a strap. Shoulder flossing. First, just hold the strap with your fists and take your arms wide enough apart so that your elbows can stay poker straight as you come up and back. And if you are sitting right next to another human being, you need to coordinate your efforts to avoid midair collisions. So here too, keep the trapezius muscles drawing back and down. Don't let them roll up and over as your strap comes forward. So trapezius muscles down, but arms poker straight. If this feels easy, you can edge your hands closer together and challenge your shoulder joints a little more. But again, do not let the elbows micro bend as the strap comes over your head. Keep the sternum lifting. Don't allow yourself to round forward. Now, slightly change the grip. Instead of just holding with your fists, I hope y'all can see this, take your thumbs and press the strap. That actually engages the inner length of the arm muscles better, and do the exact same motion, pressing your thumbs into the strap. And feel how that changes. Yeah, I have to move a little further apart when I'm pressing with my thumbs because it engages a totally different set of muscles. And then back to the fist grip, and we'll just do a side stretch. This isn't for the shoulders, this is to open the side ribs. So reach the ribs up to the ceiling, open the armpit. And then to the other side. Open those ribs, open the side body, open the armpit. And release the strap. Remove your support and press up to Adho Mukha Svanasana just to clear the knees, which have been sitting in Virasana for a long time. So just go ahead and press back. Lift the sits bones to the ceiling, straighten the knees. Pull the heels down toward the floor as you lift the thighs up toward the ceiling. And draw the sternum toward the thighs. This is just a knee clearing. Adho Mukha Svanasana will work on the pose in more detail later, but straight arms, straight legs, open the backs of the knees. One more breath, maximize your effort, and then walk your feet forward. When the feet are under the hips, stop. Engage the thighs, hands to the hips, roll the shoulders back, and come to standing. Since it is the beginning of the year, we are going to start with Surya Namaskar, some sun salutations. And so it's movement. We're going to do 1 round slowly together so that we know what the actions are. Then we'll do 3 rounds a little more rapidly. And so we start Surya Namaskar at the front of our mat. I'm going to have to cheat that a little bit so y'all can see what I'm doing. So from close to the front of my mat, if your lower back is feeling at all difficult, then stay hip width apart in Samastiti. Otherwise, take traditional Tadasana with the feet together. And let's take a moment just to remind ourselves, we'll all do this part together and then I'll show the Surya Namaskar. From Tadasana, press the big toe base joints, press the outer heels, lift the kneecaps, engage the quadriceps and push them to the back wall, and then draw the buttock flesh down toward the heels and feel how that elongates the lower back. Lift the sternum, roll the shoulders back, and gently extend the arms. Tadasana. From Tadasana, just watch for a second. For our Surya Namaskar, we're going to go to Urdhva Hastasana, arms up. Then we're going to come down to Uttanasana. First the full phase, then concave. From Uttanasana, we will step back to downward facing dog. And I will tell you all this as we're going through it, but sometimes it helps to see where you're going. So downward facing dog. And then forward to plank, down to chaturanga, up to upward facing dog, which is really hard with my ankle. Back to down dog. 1 leg forward for a lunge. And back to down dog. The other leg forward for a lunge. And back to down dog. And then up to concave, Uttanasana, full Uttanasana. And if your back is okay, swing up to Urdhva Hastasana with straight arms. If your back is not okay, do the regular hands to the hips, roll the shoulders back and come up. So I will talk us through that and we'll do it all together, but we're gonna do the lunges differently on rounds 1, 2, and 3. On round 1, the lunge is just gonna be what I showed, hands down, leg forward, okay? After we've done an entire cycle, the second lunge will come up and just balance. I should show sideways. We'll come up and just balance here. And then for the third and final round, we will add a twist. We'll raise the opposite arm, bring it on the outside of the knee. And if it's accessible to you, turn sideways and twist. So the only thing that is changing in the 3 sets of sun salutations we're gonna do will be those lunges, okay? So from Tadasana, take your best Tadasana, buttocks down. Urdhva Hastasana, arms up. And then fold forward to concave Uttanasana. And then step back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. We'll take 2 breaths here. Then move the weight forward over the shoulders to high plank. Extend the heels back. Then I'll do it sideways so people can see if they need to. Then bend the elbows and come down to chaturanga. Hover over the ground if that's possible, and then swing up to upward facing dog. Lift the chest, pull the heels back. Then press back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Now it's time for that first set of lunges, and we'll stay low this time. So swing the right leg forward, descend the left hip, pull back through the left heel, keep your fingers on the ground and lift the sternum, look forward. Open the thighs away from each other. Good. And then back to downward facing dog. So just take that right leg back and take a moment in your down dog. Now we're going to swing the left leg forward to that lunge. So swing the left leg forward, pull the right heel back, sternum forward, move the 2 thighs away from each other. And then back to down dog. And then walk forward to your Uttanasana. First, it is a downward full Uttanasana. Then lift the sternum and come to the concave face. And then if it's accessible to you, swing your arms up, otherwise hands to the hips and up to Urdhva Hastasana. Good. Then palms together and down to Tadasana to start round 2. That seemed to go okay for everybody? Yes? So this second time, we're just gonna come up into the higher lunge, but that's the only difference. So, Tadasana, buttocks down. Urdhva Hastasana. Uttanasana. Concave. Step back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. 2 breaths. Pull those thighs back. And shift your weight forward to high plank. Bend your elbows, keep them close to your torso for Chaturanga Dandasana. Straighten your arms and lift your sternum and roll over your toes for upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Good. And then back to down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pull those thighs back. Now we're going to swing the right foot forward for a lunge. And once you have your balance, come up to your thigh. Good. Press that left heel back. Keep that knee straight. Lift the thigh up to the ceiling. And then hands back down. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take the pose. Don't just slide through it. Pull the thighs back. And then swing the left leg forward. Once you have your balance, come up to the thigh. Lift the sternum. Pull the thigh back of the right leg to keep that knee straight. Good. And then hands down. Back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a breath. Forward to your Uttanasana. And then arms up or hands to the hips. Palms together. And back to Tadasana for round 3. So this is the one where if it's accessible to you, if you have your balance, we'll do a twist in the lunge. But if not, you can do either of the 2 previous versions. So from Tadasana, press those heels down. Urdhva Hastasana. Uttanasana. Concave Uttanasana. Take the other leg back first to your down dog. It's important to switch up your legs. And take 2 breaths in your Adho Mukha Svanasana down dog. Then forward to your plank. Take a breath. Bend your elbows to your Chaturanga. Sternum forward, heels back. And lift up into your upward facing dog. Lift the sternum, roll the shoulders back. Nice. Then back to down dog. And then swing the right foot forward. Keep that left heel pulling back. If you're gonna attempt this, come up to the thigh first. Left arm up. Then dive that left arm over the right thigh. Get that elbow on the outside of the thigh and see if you can bring your palms together and take a twist to your right. Twist the torso. Keep that left leg poker straight and pulling back. And then untwist, hands down, back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a breath. We have one more leg. Swing the left leg forward. Whoop. Come up to the thigh. Good. Really extend that back leg. That's an anchor point. As you raise the right arm this time, I'm not mirroring, and dive that right arm on the outside of the left leg. Keep the right heel pulling back as you twist. Use the elbow on the outside of the thigh to help rotate the torso. And hands down. 2 feet back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And then walk your feet forward to your Uttanasana. And arms up palms together. Okay, everybody. Right. So that was our warm up. Let's see if I can mute. Hang on, seeing about the muting of the persons. Where is my muting of the persons? I cannot, I can mute me, but I can't mute everybody. Sorry, I'll figure that out later. I'll mute all, there we go. Okay, so y'all can still hear me though, right? Can you hear me? Thank you, appreciate it. All right, so we should be warmed up now. From this, let us go to Trikonasana, and we're gonna focus on the abdomen. So triangle pose. And as everything else with the healing of my broken ankle, I have to use a prop, but nobody else should need a support for their ankle. Do take a brick, if you like it, to put your hands on. So from Tadasana, we're going to be stepping wide. I can't see people. There we go. From Tadasana. Again, remember all those points about Tadasana, especially pressing the big toe base joint and the outer heel and moving the buttocks down. Step your feet wide. Turn your left toes in a little and your right leg all the way to the right. I am mirroring now. And then re-square the pelvis and torso forward. There should not be an arch in the back. So here too, move the buttocks downward, just like we did in Tadasana. And see if that elongates the lower back. Good. And then keeping weight in the back heel, extend to the right. Reach, reach, reach as long as you can. Keep the side ribs on the bottom long. And when you've got as much length as possible, bring your hands to your shin or a brick and prop your other hand on your hip. Good. Now, from the right hip, move that entire, suck that hip flesh back as if it were going toward that opposite wall. And feel how it helps elongate the bottom ribs. So from that, rotate the torso to the ceiling any amount. Keep rolling both trapezius muscles back down toward the buttocks. And then keeping weight in the back leg and the front big toe base joint, swing your arm up to Trikonasana, triangle pose. Extend all the legs and arms. I see some front legs that are micro bending, so be sure you press your big toe base joint and keep that front leg really straight. Keep pressing the back heel. Rotate any more. If your neck is okay, you can look up at your thumb. And extend. And then reach up to come out. All toes forward, hands on the hips. That looked good. We have a second side. If you need to move your brick, move your brick. Press both outer heels. Swing the arms up. Extend from the bottom of the arm. Extend from these triceps muscles as if you could touch both walls on either side. This time, right toes in a little, left leg all the way left, and then re-square the pelvis and torso front. Keep the weight in the back heel and the front big toe base joint as you reach out to your left. Get as long as you can. Make sure that you're really opening up those bottom ribs before you bring your hand down to the brick and the other hand to the hip. So go ahead and rest the top hand on the hip so that we can work on the torso for a second. So press into the back heel, that outer back heel and the front big toe base joint. Mine is aloft because of the ankle, but yours should be on the ground. And with those two firm points, rotate the torso to the ceiling. You can use that bent elbow to help rotate the chest. Good. And keeping the legs vigorous and straightening that front leg. Even if you think it's straight, try to straighten it more. Good. Then just let the front arm float up to the ceiling and rotate any amount more. See if you can look at the thumb. All arms and legs straight and moving away from each other. Extend the forelimbs. Be a triangle. And then lift up, toes forward, and step together. Now the triangle pose is like Vashisthasana. We're not going to do Vashisthasana just yet, but I want you to notice that that is the exact same shape that we would eventually be in for the final Vashisthasana. See, it's triangle. So just keep that in your mind when we get to Vashisthasana a little bit later. Navasana, because Vashisthasana requires a little abdominal work. Let us sit down on the floor and grab a strap if you think you might need it, and grab a rolled blanket if you think you might need it for boat pose. I will show you how to use both of those props. I'm very uncoordinated when I sit down now because I have to watch the ankle. It makes me look like an elephant, sorry. So from Dandasana. So I'll just show in case anybody's not familiar with it, so just watch for a second. We start by bending our knees, lifting our sternum, extending the legs, and then bringing the arms up. This is sideways. If balance is a problem, you can take a rolled blanket and put it behind your sacrum, and that helps. If you don't think you can get your legs up, you can use a strap, okay? So decide if you're gonna need those props, and then come back to Dandasana. Put your fingertips behind you like little spiders to help lift the sternum here. One of the pitfalls of this pose is people's chests tend to collapse, but you want to keep the sternum lifted to keep that boat aloft. So lift the sternum first, then bend up your knees and lean back onto your hands. Keep the sternum lifted. Good. Sternum lifted even more. Then extend your legs. Lift the sternum again, and then swing your arms out to be oars. Lift the sternum, that's the hard part now. Lift the sternum. Some people are getting their props ready. Lift the sternum, lift the sternum. Even if you're using the strap, squeeze your thighs together and shoot out through the heels. Really engage the legs, even if you're using a strap. One more breath, and down. Take a breath. Good. So the strap is a good way to learn how to do it, but if you're using the strap, let me show what I saw. If you're using the strap, don't just hang out there. This is hanging out, right? Engage the thighs. Act as if you were doing the pose without the strap in the legs. So push the thighs together and really extend out. And it livelies up the pose, and it helps you lift the sternum more than if you're just kind of letting the legs hang out. I mean, yeah, you know, I'm hanging out, but this is the pose. So really work the legs and lift the sternum, even with the strap. Let's try one more time. From Dandasana, work the legs here. Tell the legs, press down, extend out, and make them keep doing it even when we go into the pose. Fingertips behind, lift the sternum. The fingertips, instead of the palms, really let you lift the sternum. Keep that as you come back to the palms and bend your knees. So sternum up, thighs pressing. Then lift the legs out straight, relift the sternum while you have the hands down, and then bring your oars to the side. Lift the sternum, extend those legs. I know legs are heavy. Yes, mine are feeling it too, but it's 2021 and I'm gonna do hard things, yay. Lift the sternum, press the big toe base joints out, and release. How's everybody doing? Yay, all right. So that was abdominal work to get us ready for Vashisthasana. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. So this is another thing with our heavy legs. This time you will want a place at the wall and a strap. So we often, in my classes, do Sutta Padangusthasana lying on the floor. But the final pose, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, is out in the middle of the room with your hands, right? Like this. We're going to take the balance out of the equation by using the wall. And if the hands are not accessible, we can use a strap. And thank the stars again for Mr. Iyengar and his props. So let's all have a loop in our strap. If you're very tight, it might be a longer loop. If you're not very tight, it can be a smaller loop. It's going to be what helps you hold your foot as we go to the two positions, okay? So your buttocks should be barely touching the wall. Your feet should not, because you need to be able to stand straight, okay? Press the big toe base joints and outer heels. Put the weight on the left foot. I'm gonna mirror with the weight on the left foot and raise the right knee. And for a second, just pull that knee in towards yourself. Move the two thighs away from each other. Your right knee's moving up toward the ceiling, your left knee's moving down toward the foot. Then belt up the foot, hold the belt, re-engage the right big toe base joint as you straighten your right, the left big toe base joint as you straighten the right leg, sorry. Mirroring is confusing. Good. Now, descend your right hip. Don't let it wing up because the leg's up. Keep the left leg poker straight. Descend the right hip. Get the hips as even as possible. Good. And then let's see if we can go to the side. So move the leg to the side, but keep descending the hip. You can take the arm out for balance. So you're pressing your left big toe base joint into the floor, sucking that hip in so you don't wing out too much, and descending the right hip to keep the hips level. Good, then back to the front. It's hard to balance on a formerly broken ankle. And then bend up your knee and come back to Tadasana. How'd that go? Yes. We would not, also just to let you know, if we're doing it in the middle of the room at this level, we would not go from one to the other, but since we got the support of the wall, it's not a problem. And at a very advanced level, they do it in the middle of the room, but I'm not gonna do that today. All right, so second leg, from your best Tadasana. Press the big toe base joints, outer heels, buttocks down. Lift up your left knee. Move those two thighs intentionally away from each other. Right thigh down, left thigh to the ceiling. Then belt up your foot. Take the loop in the lifted leg hand, left hand. Descend the hip first and then straighten the leg. So keep those hips square the entire time. Check back in with a standing leg. Are you still pressing through the big toe base joint? Good. Are you still lifting the knee? Is the knee poker straight? Then descend the left hip again. Lift any higher if it's possible. And then out to the side. Purvachitupastha 2. Descend the thigh and extend the leg out. And then back to the front. Lift the sternum and come out with mindfulness. Good. Legs are heavy. This is a good way to work so that eventually you can do it with your fingers. And in some ways, the fingers are easier because it gives you more feedback. This is definitely a pose if you would like to take a target pose for 2021. I would encourage people to play with this one because it's pretty fun. All right, so now it is time for the moment of truth and Vashisthasana. I'm going to show sideways. We start Vashisthasana from a plank pose. So I start from hands and knees. Then I come to that same high plank we did before. Y'all can't see my hands and feet. Sorry. Now you can. So just watch first. Hands and knees, then I come to a plank. My shoulders are over my wrists. Then I move my left hand, I'm not mirroring at all, to the center and move over so that I'm on my left foot, the outer edge of my left foot, feet stacked. So this is the first phase. This is all we'll do the first time. And then I lift my arm up and I'm in Vashisthasana. Phase 1. So let's all go in together, okay? Because one person's in, but everybody else is not, but 2 people are in. So we're gonna go in together. So come out if you're in. We're gonna go first to the right. So hands and knees. Make sure your shoulders are over your wrists. Come to that plank. Move the left hand in towards center and roll on your left foot to come to the outer edge. Then balance yourself on that arm. Reach the right. good. These are looking good. Keep the hips engaged. Suck the two hips toward each other. And when it's time to come down, hand first, then toes. I'm never sure why, but I know the senior teachers emphasize that. So roll your hand down first and then toes. So take a quick downward child's pose, toes together, knees apart, and just take a resting Adho Mukha Virasana, because that pose is very rigorous. And then we have a second side. I have no idea if I can do this on my formerly broken ankle, but we'll see. So we're getting ready to go to the second side. Shoulders over wrists. Press back into your plank. Move your left hand to the center now and roll. There we go, it's fine. To the right foot edge. Stack the feet. Extend the arm. Spread through the two arms to open the collarbones. Extend the legs, yes, and if you need balance, you can put a foot in front or behind. So behind is closer to the final pose, if you want to try that, if you just need a little bit of extra I'm showing right now. And then hand down, knees down, and take a quick child's pose. All right, now just for grins, we're gonna go to the final phase. And let me show, just watch for a moment. So yes, if the balancing is too hard, you can take a foot behind, okay, and prop yourself that way. And that's actually close to the way we continue the pose, because from the first phase of Vashisthasana, we bring this foot up as if it were in a Vrikshasana, and then with a belt or your fingers, we raise the leg. And it's nice and invigorating on a January morning. So you can use a strap, have one nearby if you think you might need it. And it's just fun and games, as my teacher Peggy says. Touch and go, see what happens. If it doesn't work, try again, and then put it off till another time. But it's always fun to challenge ourselves. I mean, that's the path of yoga. So let's give it a go. From hands and knees. Plank pose. Arm to the center, come to your outer foot. Once you have your balance, bring that right foot up into, or your left foot, sorry, whichever foot's on top, up into your Vrikshasana pose. And then with a belt or your fingers, grab the foot or toe and see, can you straighten that leg up to the ceiling? Yeah, nice. Very nice. When you're ready to come down, hand first, then feet, and take a brief resting child's pose. Toes together, knees apart. Let go. I am breathing heavily. I hope this is feeling as invigorating for you guys as it is for me. All right, we have one more side. So hands and knees. Come into the plank, move that hand into the center and come to the outside edge of the foot, Vashisthasana phase one. And then, once you have your balance, take your Vrikshasana, move your knee to a bend, and then grab the toe or the belt and see if you can straighten. Keep the hips lifted. These are good attempts. I like what I'm seeing. And I like y'all are keeping your hips really well lifted. Beautiful. So when you're ready to come down, hand first, then roll the toes, then take a resting child's pose. The trouble that you see most often in these are people's hips sagging to the floor, but I'm seeing none of that. So y'all rock. So we are taking a resting Adho Mukha Virasana. And when you are fully recovered, go ahead and set up for whatever you do when Shirshasana comes around. Or if you're feeling fatigued from all that work, then take something that's more resting. You can do Shirshasana, headstand prep if you want. That would not hurt my feelings at all, because I know we just did a lot of intense shoulder work. So if your shoulders are feeling too fatigued, just do the prep. Or you can do 2 chair headstand, or if you have a headstander or ropes, feel free to do any of those. So prep will be perfectly fine. If you do the prep, you might want to challenge yourself to do Ekapada. If your neck is a problem, you can keep your neck off the floor, your head off the floor, and do Ekapada. So there are lots of options for this headstand phase of class. Karen, that looked nice and straight. Be sure to lift the buttocks though, because there was an arch in your back. Is that something that happens often? I don't know if I can unmute you. Sorry.
I've got a very arched back, so it's always a problem.
Okay. As long as you are aware. And pardon?
Yeah. Devin told me that because of the morphology of my sacrum, I've got more like an African body. So as long as I can pull up the front spine, if I, you know, it's not too, that's not too bad. But mostly I just do a quick preparation like that for my shoulders because I've got a very weak shoulder. So I was concentrating on that. But the arch in my spine is
okay. As long as you know about it, right? Yeah, good.
I got to try to keep it as unarched as possible.
Good. Yay, that corner is a great idea. Good. And then lift the buttocks and straighten the knees. Lift the buttocks to the ceiling. Yes. Oh, good. Oh, that looks dead on. That's good. These are looking nice. And Chaya, don't stay long enough to really fatigue yourself. Come in and out if you're doing the prep, because honestly, the prep is harder than headstand. Marsha, looks good. Heels are a little back, so lift the buttocks to the ceiling and extend the inner heels up and see if the heels can come a little forward. Yes, that's much straighter. I hope that feels better. Well, actually, it probably won't if it's not what you're used to, but that is definitely straighter. I can't see everybody, but I'm sure you're all doing lovely things. We're about to come down, so if you've already come down, go ahead and take a child's pose. And if you have not yet come down, it would be a good time to start mindfully and slowly descending. And then everybody come into a child's pose with the forehead on the floor. Or if you were in ropes, because I can't see everybody, just go ahead and put your forehead on the wall, because forehead getting pressure helps to reestablish our body's equilibrium after being upside down. So we always want the forehead on something after upside down poses. All right, so now it is time for Salamba Sarvangasana. If you do shoulder stand, or you could do a chair shoulder stand, or you could do a Setu Bandha if you do not do regular shoulder stand. So does anybody need any of those? So if you don't do a regular shoulder stand, let me know and do Setu Bandha, because I think everybody here does shoulder stand or some variation, right? So let me know if you do not know what to do at this point, but otherwise set up for what you do when Sarvangasana comes around. I'm stealing Anne's words because that's the way she says it, and I think that's very appropriate. Whatever you do when this pose comes around. So hi, Lena, what do you do a shoulder stand? Okay, so do you have, let's do 2 brick Setu Bandha. I think that'll be perfect, okay? So I will show. So not knowing your practice, I'm gonna say keep the bricks at their medium level. And I have one down here toward my feet. And then I'm gonna lie down with bent knees. I'm going to put my feet flat on the floor, lift my buttocks, engage the buttocks to the knees, and then slide this brick in widthwise, very low under my sacrum, not in the back at all. So it's really close to my tailbone. So I don't want it in the back. I want it low, low, low. And then once I've decided that that's an appropriate place and my lower back is not being pinched, I can extend my legs onto the brick and I can put my hands in cactus shape. So just a simple Setu Bandha. The whole point is to open the sternum and lift the chest to the ceiling. Okay. To come out, you put your feet flat on the floor, lift your buttocks off the brick, and then slowly roll out.
These are looking good. Everybody buttocks to the ceiling, inner heels to the ceiling. If you're in classical shoulder stand, every now and then walk your hands down your back. If your legs are piking over your head, then walk your hands further down your back and see if you can move the legs back away from your head. If that's too hard, you might need more blankets under your head and shoulders. More height usually helps that. Lena, thumbs up if you're doing okay. Does it feel okay? Yay, thank you. Yeah, I actually have a neck problem and I use 5 blankets for my shoulder stand and it's life-changing. Since I've started using that many blankets, it feels like my body just shoots up to the ceiling. And with fewer blankets, my neck and shoulders were always just in excruciating discomfort. So take the props you need. Now, if you're using blankets, the blankets should be under your shoulders. Oh, are you just doing legs up the wall? That's fine. Okay, got it. All right. We always, just for your home practice, we always want to stay in our Sarvangasana shape with pressure on the shoulders for longer than we were in our headstand. One of the interesting things that Mr. Iyengar and his students discovered early on is that if you do a headstand without a shoulder stand afterwards, you can be irritable for the rest of the day. And I can promise you that that is a true thing. There's something about grounding the shoulders that helps reestablish your emotional equilibrium after having stood on your head. And that's why we always do it in that order. And that's why you want the shoulder stand shape, which includes things like Setu Bandha or Shatush or even Viparita Karani, but you want that shoulder stand shape to be longer than your headstand was, to be sure that you reestablish your emotional tranquility. So we will be here for 15 more seconds. Reinvigorate your pose for the last little bit. And Lena, did your lower back start feeling uncomfortable? Okay, so go ahead and lift up and don't come down fast. Really engage your buttocks, move the buttocks toward the knees away from the head and roll down very slowly. And keep the knees bent when you come out, feet apart, knees together to reset that lower back. And then everybody can come out right now. And our next pose will be Jatara Parvatanasana. So we're going to do it in 2 different ways too. If you're experiencing or traditionally experience any low back discomfort, and so like Lena, if that pose just gave you low back discomfort, definitely use blankets for this. So to use the blankets, you just have 1 or even 2 blankets. And I guess it doesn't really matter which way they are, although, yeah, I usually use them the long way. So hot dog fold, the
smooth edge towards your head side. And you will lie with just your sacrum on the blanket and bend your knees up, okay? If you don't have lower back discomfort, you really don't need the blanket. I tend to do this flat on the floor. But everybody watch. And we'll take, maybe we'll take a strap in first. So Jatara Parvatanasana, and I'm sorry that you get to see the bottom of my feet, but this is the best way to show it. Arms out at shoulder level, tuck the knees up into your chest, engage the abdomen, and then roll the knees over to the left elbow. So the torso is turning right, but the knees are turning left, and just hover. I'm engaging my feet, I'm bringing the thighs in as close as they can be, and I'm not letting them fall to the floor. I'm extending them so that I'm getting a twist. And this is really beautiful at relieving low back tension. So let's all try the bent-legged version of Jatara Parvatanasana. Yes, give yourself some room if you're in a room with another human being. But remember, don't let the thighs rest on the floor. They should hover above the floor, and tuck those thighs in as close to your chest as they can. See if you can get them. Yes, the closer you can get the thighs, the better. Ideally, they're even touching, but bring them in as close as you can. And then just hover on one side. I see people are already going from side to side. So as you do that, be sure that you take equal time on both sides. And then to give you one more thing to think about, try to keep the knees evenly together. The bottom knee tends to pull up forward of the top knee. So do what you can by squeezing the hips together and extending through both inner thighs. Yes, good effort to keep those knees in the same plane. Once you've done both sides an even number of times, go ahead and put your feet flat on the floor. And I will show you the second variation of this. So once you're done, sit up and watch. So the second variation, I can show this one from the side, so y'all don't have to see the bottom of my feet. For the second variation, you start the same way, shoulders out, tuck the knees into the chest. But for this, I'm gonna extend the left leg up and keep the right knee bent, and then just roll to the right. So the right knee is keeping it from being as intense as it would be with two straight legs, which we're not trying in a minute. So it's giving me a little platform, but I still work both thighs and hover. I'll show you from the other side too. And I'm trying to get the foot over the hand. So that's how close in the thighs want to come to the torso. Obviously that won't be what happens for everybody, but that's the goal, is to get the foot really hovering over the hand. And keep the opposite shoulder on the ground. So this is a lovely twist and good abdominal work. So arms out, right knee bent, left leg straight, and go to the right. So again, the bottom leg will be the bent one because it's providing a platform for that heavy straight leg. Keep the straight leg straight. Make every effort to not let that knee bend. Extend through its big toe base joint. Talk to it kindly. Also, don't let the bottom leg go to sleep. So engage both thighs, press through both big toe base joints. It's just that one knee is bent. Arms out to the side, yes, palms up. Make sure your arms are both at shoulder level. Yeah, good. And keep the shoulder that your legs are moving away from on the ground. That's what takes the abdominal work. If that shoulder pops up, really engage the abdomen back toward the upside to reground it. Once you have done an equal number on both sides, y'all know what's coming. Turn around and look. If you're finishing up, take your time. I'm not trying to rush anybody. So the final phase is both legs straight. So you really engage your abdomen for this, squeeze the thighs together, extend through inner heels and big toe base joints. Keep the left shoulder grounded as you come down as far as you can. And if I come much further, I'm gonna tip. So I'm extending my legs and really pulling my abdominal muscles back toward the side that's trying to come up. This is great ab work. Hello, 2021. All right, everybody at least try that. If you're experiencing low back discomfort, then you're exempt from the straight-legged version. Go back to the bent leg version. So if your low back is in any way threatened, go ahead and keep your knees bent. If you're doing the straight leg version, be rigorous about straight knees though. Last effort, best effort, nice. Some of these are looking really good. I can see that you're really working your abdomen to keep that away side grounded. That's the trick. And when you're finished, get a couple of blankets. We're heading towards some seated twists. Always roll to your right to come up from a lying position, since the heart is on the left. So I give myself 2 book folded blankets for these seated twists. And of course, when you're sitting on book folded blankets, make sure that the neat edge, not the ragged edge, is where your thighs will be touching. So from Dandasana, take your hands, I'm mirroring again, and lift up your left leg. We do that to keep the groin soft. So you actually carry the weight of your leg in your hands and bring the heel in as close to its sits bone as you can. Then hold the shin, extend the extended thigh both down and out so that thigh is still working. Make sure that its toes are pointing up straight to the ceiling. Don't let them wave out, good correction. Don't let them wiggle out to the side. And hold the shin and lift the sternum up. So use the pressure of your arms pulling against the shin to get the sternum as tall as possible. And then raise your left arm. Dump that left arm inside the elbow knee. Can't even say body parts today. Swing your right hand behind you and grab some of those blankets and press the elbow against the knee and pull against the blankets to rotate the torso to your right. Keep pressing the right thigh down and extending the right big toe base joint out away from you and really twist. Keep the spine long, don't bend over, keep the sternum up. I see a couple of people who could lift their sternums. And then really twist again. So for most of us, this twist is happening in the middle and top ribs. What happens if you try to rotate your bottom ribs too? Think about those bottom ribs, move those bottom ribs with the help of both arms. And on your final twist moment, go ahead and let the head turn softly over the right shoulder. Inhale, get as tall as you can in the spine. Exhale, maximize that twist. Marichyasana. And release. Extend both legs. Reset your Dandasana, legs firm and extending. And then take your arms and pick up your right leg. So press the foot into the floor, lift the sternum with the help of those arms. Check in with the left leg, make sure it's still pressing down, extending out, toes straight up. Good. And right arm up and duck the elbow inside the knee. Swing the left arm around to grab some blankets and begin your twist. With every inhalation, lengthen the spine. With every exhalation, intensify the twist. Inhale, get long. Exhale, twist more. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, rotate. Keep pressing the right knee against the elbow too, so don't let that knee wing out into the room. Press the knee in and press the elbow against the knee, so both of them keep working. Good, good. With the last exhalation, go ahead and allow your head to turn this time over the left shoulder. And take 2 breaths in the final pose. And release. Back to Dandasana. So now we're gonna make it harder because it's Iyengar yoga. So I have to figure out, this is okay. So this time, pick up your right leg again. I know this is one we just had up. But we're gonna extend the left arm up. So this is the crossover one. Similar pose, but it's more intense because we're crossing over the leg. So I have to move my healthy abdominal flesh away from my thigh before I can duck the knee on the arm on the outside. So I move my belly away and I tuck my knee in. And then take a moment, really just go back and forth. My teacher Peggy calls this a sawing action. So saw, get as close to the armpit with the knee as you can. Because the more contact you have between that outer elbow and that knee, the better you'll be able to twist. So once you've gotten as close to that armpit as you possibly can, then once again, right hand swings back to grab the blankets. And with every inhalation, get taller. With every exhalation, twist more. The twists, as we've mentioned before, are fabulous for the immune system. They're something we should all be doing in these pandemic days. They're also great for digestion, the internal organs, our mental balance. Last inhalation, get maximally tall. Last exhalation, allow the head to turn over the right shoulder. For just a second, look back. Be sure that your left toes are still pointing straight up. And be sure that you're still engaging that leg. Then bring your head back to that final position and take 2 breaths in the full pose. And release. One more side. Pick up your left leg, bring it in close to the sits bone. If you're like me, move your abdominal flesh, right arm up, and then saw to get as close to that armpit as possible. And once you have maximum contact, lift the sternum and rotate the torso. And again, you're pressing the knee and the arm against each other for leverage. They help you to lever at your torso around. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, intensify the twist. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, rotate. So take a quick look back at those right toes. Be sure the leg is still active and the toes are still pointing straight up. And then to finalize the pose, on your next exhalation, allow the head to turn over the left shoulder. 2 breaths here. And then release, come back to center. And I think we have time for just a quick forward fold. If you like height for Dandasana, for Paschimottanasana, boy, I can't think today, then keep it, that's the forward fold pose. I actually like to do this one on the floor. And let's all start with the strap. So if you need height for a straight back Dandasana, you'll need height for this. So keep the blankets, if that is true, if your back rounds when you sit straight on the floor, okay? Everybody grab a strap and lasso up your feet, whether you're on blankets or not. Feet together, unless you have lower back issues. And if your lower back is even a little twingy, take your feet hip width apart, protect that lower back, give it space. Real yoga is about doing what's right for your body at any moment, not doing what the teacher is showing or what you saw in a book. It's what does my body need right this minute. So use the strap to lift the sternum up as high as possible. Keep the trapezius muscles moving down, keep the chin slightly jibbed. It's not about lifting your chin to the ceiling, but lift the sternum to the ceiling. And then, keeping the sternum and spine, sternum up, spine long, walk forward a little bit. Only walk forward and stop with each forward motion. Stop, reground the sits bones, relift the sternum. Only come forward to the extent that you can keep the back straight. If the back starts to round, go back to the last position. So incrementally walk yourself forward, always checking to be sure that your back is straight. No rounded spines yet. We will get there, but at this point, we're still in the concave phase, and we're emphasizing a straight back. Press the thighs down, extend the big toe base joints away from you. The thighs must keep working in this. That is what protects the sacrum. That is what protects the lower back. Lift the sternum. If you're finally at your maximum, one long extension of the spine, and then bend your elbows and come forward. You can use bricks or blankets on your shins to rest your forehead, but allow your forehead to come to rest on something. Keep the legs working. Your torso and your forehead rest, but your thighs keep pressing down and extending away. That still is what protects the lower back. So Paschimottanasana, work the legs, but rest the torso and rest the head and mind. Keep pressing the thighs down. Keep extending the big toe base joints away. The thighs should never, ever, ever stop working. Reinvigorate those thighs and come back to your concave phase. Stretch the spine, and then everybody grab the belt again and come back to the vertical spine with the strap. And just feel how lovely it is to pull, giving your spine the traction of the arms and the strap against the feet. It really helps the spine just shoot up to the ceiling. It's a lovely feeling. And then release and get your setup for Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. So for most people, that is 2 book folded blankets with the book fold facing into the room. And I just put a little sticky mat under so that the blankets don't slide too much when I get in. But some people don't like the sticky mat under the head, so that is up to you. Have a couple of inches of space away from the wall for your buttock flesh to descend. And this is the one where we put our sits bones on the wall and roll in sideways, leaving the sits bones on the wall so that we have legs up the wall and ribs, back ribs supported on the blanket, and the shoulder blades on the floor. You can put your hands in cactus shape And now we can relax. Let go of all effort except the very minimal amount needed to keep the legs from falling off of the wall.
Roll and tuck your shoulders under. For most people, that's easier with the elbows a little bit, but do what feels most comfortable to you. And with every exhalation, notice how the abdomen recedes to flatten itself against the spine. Gita Iyengar called this the pacification of the abdomen. And if we observe those breaths, descending and descending and descending, it's very relaxing. You have a choice. We have 3 minutes left. If you would like to stay in Viparita Karani instead of classical Shavasana, that is fine. If you would like to tuck your knees, roll out, and lie down flat for a traditional Shavasana, this is the time to do so. If you're moving to classical Shavasana, remember, keep your knees bent as you lie down. Lift your buttocks and move them toward your heels before you straighten your legs. And then roll and tuck each shoulder under so that your trapezius flesh is moving away from your head. Allow your eyes to recede into the back of your head. Relax your tongue, jaw, throat. If thoughts come into your mind, acknowledge them and let them go. And whichever pose you're in, return your attention to your own breath. Draw your awareness back
Extend your fingers. Extend your toes. Bring your hands to your rib cage. If you're in Viparita Karani with your legs up the wall, draw your knees into your chest. If you're in Shavasana, bring first one knee to your chest and hold it with your arm, followed by the other, and then hold them both. And then everyone roll to the right, unless there's a human being in your way. And come to a seated position. Let your head come up last. Don't lead with the head. And once we're seated, let's pay our respects to the practice. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste. And Happy New Year.